The next part in this conversation is that Jesus responds, "They need not depart, you give them to eat." That last statement, "you give them to eat," is in both Matthew and Mark. But only in Matthew it says, "they need not depart." Mark it says, "He answered and said to them, give you them to eat." Matthew says, "But Jesus said to them, they need not depart, give you them to eat." I want to have the "but Jesus said to them" instead of just "and he answered," because he's counteracting their idea. Jesus said to them, and Mark just has "he." So starting with Matthew, "but Jesus." Now I can have "said to them" or "answered and said to them." I'll put "answered" and from Mark. But Jesus answered, and is also Mark. Now "said to them" is both. They need not depart. That is Matthew only. They need not depart. Give you them to eat. Mark says, "give you them to eat." From both, "give you them to eat." And they say to him. And they say to him. That's both. 5 loaves and 2 fish. So Mark, this response comes first. And they say to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of bread and give them to eat?" That's just Mark. Philip's 200 pennyworth is later. At least that's how I understand it. So Mark only. And they say to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of bread and give them to eat?" Now, here in Mark, the next response that Jesus gives is, "How many loaves have you?" But I still have to put in the response from Philip, because he's also speaking about 200 pennyworth. So I do believe this belongs here, because Philip's statement is as if it would be an answer to Jesus and an answer to them, the disciples, about 200 pennyworth. So that's where I really feel this belongs. And I'm open to changing this if I am shown otherwise, but for now, this is what I think it is. So now John, Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. Luke, he does say, "give you them to eat." So I'm going to go back and combine all this with what I already said. But is also from Luke, so that would be orange. Said to them, answered and said to, so said to them is all three. Give you them to eat. Give you them to eat. So that is all three as well. I just had another thought. If Philip's response is actually separate from the other disciples' question, then instead of beginning with Philip answered, making it confusing as to whether or not they should have been combined but just weren't, I want to take one of the but at the beginning of this sentence where it says, but Jesus answered, and put it here. Instead of saying, and Philip answered, it'll say, but Philip answered, 200 pennyworth is not sufficient. That way you know this is different, and he is actually correcting them. They're asking, shall we go get that much? He's correcting them, no, even that is not enough. So I'll change this but Jesus back to only read, and I'll use the word from Luke only. But Philip answered. There. Now it is more clear that these two statements are not accidentally not combined, that they're meant to be separate, and that it's not just a response to Jesus, it's a response to them as well. Jesus answered them, and they say to him, Jesus, shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth? Then Philip answered, 200 pennyworth. So it's like he's responding to exactly their question, and at the same time answering what Jesus initially asked him, where shall we buy? He's like, 200 is not enough. I've explained all this already.